Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. I finally decided to finish up the very last project here on my Jeep, and what it is are vacuum wipers for the windshield. I've owned this Jeep for over 30 years. I've had the vacuum wipers now for about 20 years, and they were just mounted to the windscreen. They weren't even plumbed in. I bought them on eBay used, and the seller assured me that they worked. Well, this was 20 years ago, and I finally decided to hook them up, and it went really well. I did it using rubber tubing, like fuel line tubing. I know that's not correct as far as how they were done originally. I think originally they used hardline, and I may do that one of these days, but for now the rubber tubing is working well, and I may just leave that. Copper tubing would probably be the way I would go because it's softer and easier to bend and shape than, say, like steel brake line. So anyway, I ran a long portion over to that far right vacuum motor, and I used a Y-type splitter to split the tubing into two so I could feed the first motor. And then I ran it down like this underneath the windshield arm to a hole in the body that was actually there. I think it was a factory hole for the wiper system that may have been on this Jeep originally. I put a rubber grommet in it and ran my tubing in through there. Now let me show you what I did under the hood. I actually decided to bring it in through the wall and run it into copper tubing like this, all the way to the front port of the intake manifold, where I put in a threaded hose barb and used a small piece of rubber tubing to actually connect the two together to prevent vibration from breaking the tubing. And I wanted to go with copper here because I figured it would hold its shape. Rubber tubing all the way probably wouldn't be good because it would either change shape or eventually rot. And I used the front mounting port mainly because there's a lot of airflow through there, and that piece of rubber tubing is not going to perish too quickly, I hope. But anyway, it comes and joins the main tubing here and passes through the body, as you can see. Now, I may be looking for some suggestions here because one problem that I've not been able to figure out, well, kind of figured it out, but the factory would have run hardline, you know, all the way across here and down, and I think it would have stopped right about here where the hinge point is, because as the windshield rotates forward, if you pull it forward like this, you can see it's going to pull that tubing tight. And I think if you leave some extra tubing inside the engine compartment, you can pull that through and allow it to rotate without stretching the tubing too much. And I think, you know, in my research, I haven't found a lot on how this was done, but I believe that the hardline tubing originally would have stopped somewhere in here and would have been rubber the rest of the way. But there is going to be a bending point right here. So if anybody out there happens to have an original Jeep with this kind of factory plumbing done, I'd sure like to see a picture of it. What I've done actually does work, but you know, I do have this dilemma of rotating the windshield forward and having it not overly stretch that line. As it is right now, I would have to pull some slack through the wall and through that holder there in order for it to have enough slack to rotate the windshield. And I like it to look neat. I don't want it to have, you know, a big loop of rubber tubing hanging down when the windshield is up. So I'm kind of thinking at some point I'll go with copper tubing fastened to the windshield all the way up to here, where I can split it using rubber connectors and head off to the motors. But let me show you how they work. They actually do work pretty well. You know, I kind of like this old school way of doing things because you do have usable vacuum from the motor. You might as well, from the engine, you might as well use it. And so all you do is just and away it goes. And the other side, I don't have a wiper arm on it yet. I've got one coming, but it does work. And I think you can, oops, you can actually maybe see it rotating there. But it's actually turning. So anyway, that's what I've been working on. And if anybody out there has some suggestions or might know how it was done at the factory, that would be great. I think I would have to end up getting new clamps for smaller copper line through here, and that's not a problem. I just wanted to kind of make it look original. I do like the old school use of these vacuum wipers. So anyway, if this is helpful to somebody out there, I know there's not a lot of detail online as to how these were routed, or where they stopped, or how they got around the arcing of the windshield and pulling of that line. If anybody knows, that would be great. Or if you have pictures of your own Jeep, send them to me. That might be helpful. Hopefully this has been helpful to those of you out there that are working on this sort of thing. The old vacuum wipers, they've been around for a long, long time, probably from the early 20s on up till maybe the end of the 50s. And I know I could go electric. That would be an easy thing to do, but it's not in keeping with the originality of my Jeep. Not that it's fully original, but I do like that old technology, and it does work. So hopefully if I do get into a rainstorm, I'll have some wiper action that'll really help me. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Short video today, but I'll be back again with something different next time. And again, if you have something that might be helpful to me as to how this was done originally, that would be great. Anyway, thanks again and take care. Bye-bye.